Wait, what about weird?
Hi, I'm Echo.
And I'm Elena.
And this is our podcast, What About Weird? A podcast about all things strange, from cryptids and aliens to strange science and unhinged history.
Featuring a train in the background.
So, last week Elena did an episode about basically the people side of Mammoth Caves, about the Kentucky Cave Wars, and
The early cave tours and stuff.
brought up a lot of names that you probably don't remember already.
I did the research and I don't remember most of them.
Oh, there goes the train.
Just wants to get in his 2 cents.
What do you have to say about Mammoth Caves, Sir Train?
Bwomp.
And so this week, I'm going to be talking more on the science side of Mammoth Caves, the geological history about it, the ecology of Mammoth Caves, and a couple of new discoveries that we've made in terms of paleontology at Mammoth Caves in recent history. So just to kind of recap, Mammoth Cave National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and an International Biosphere Reserve located in central Kentucky, established on July 1st of 1941, and it encompasses 52,830 acres of land. It is the world's largest cave system with over 405 miles of caves mapped, which is 651 kilometers. This incredibly vast system of caverns formed when rain and snow pick up carbon dioxide and they fall through the air and work their way through the soil, making the water slightly acidic since the chemical reaction between water and carbon dioxide forms carbonic acid. This acidity leads to water slowly dissolving soluble limestone rock, which is calcium carbonate. Water is able to find its way into the limestone layers of the land through sinkholes and sinking creeks.
We learned about those in the museum.
We did. I wish I could
That was cool because it had like a visual map of how the sinkholes worked.
Yeah.
It was like a cut through of how everything was working and it over time. Mm-hmm. I love a good 3D model.
I love 3D models too.
Give me a
They're
3D
so much
model
better.
any day.
Or look up a video on it, because that's, unless you're gonna go visit Mammoth Caves, I think that's the best you get.
I liked that they had that giant wall that was a display of it.
Uh-huh.
It was like the sinkhole, and they had little lights for the water dripping down.
Yeah.
I liked that. I could stay there for hours.
So the rock layers are angled slightly to make the water flow as underground streams and emerge as springs along the Green River. In fact, the Green River is primarily what controls the cave development. As erosion occurs along the Green River and these underground streams flow through the rock, small cracks from narrow passageways which eventually turn into large caverns beneath the earth over millions of years. So not only is the formation of Mammoth Caves thanks to the chemical dissolution of limestone, it is also thanks to the powerful force of water to erode rocks. The land that encompasses the caves is a limestone belt that extends from southern Indiana through Kentucky and into Tennessee. The sedimentary rocks of the park were produced when an ancient ocean, about 330 million years ago, deposited sediment along the area, but the passages within Mammoth Caves did not start developing until about 10 to 15 million years ago. The highest passages formed about
Why did it take that long, do you know?
It looks like about 298 million years ago, during the Pennsylvanian period, is what it says, that the seas began to recede a little bit, which left behind land that had extensive swamps. A large part of the land were still covered by shallow, warm seas during these periods.
So what I'm hearing is the Pennsylvanian era is the swamp era. I've never been to Pennsylvania, but I don't know. I feel like that says something about Pennsylvania. That they're like, we're going to name this era of swamps after this state.
And there's like a whole history of the
nomenclature, why they named things what they named.
Yeah. So here's the thing so it was underwater. It dries out a little bit. It goes underwater again. Like that's just how the earth kind of works with its periods of heating and cooling. And so like it's ancient sea and then the seas recede and then it's ancient sea again. And so it's like it didn't really like fully dry out to the point where there's just basically like lakes in the Green River, I think, until we get to closer to like just a 10 to 15 million years ago is what I believe happened. Because like if you have constantly, it's full of water again, there's not really going to be, like there's no like single streams of water going in. And there's still like, you gotta, when the ocean is just over all of it, it is still placing those sediments onto the ground and forming the rocks themselves.
Okay, so it's
not going to be eroding anything.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. You gotta build before you can destroy.
Yeah. I'm looking at, I think this is the geologic story of Kentucky. It's actually really cool because you can just like find it online. It's like
Is this the book you were looking at buying the other day?
No, that was a different one.
Oh.
But they say in the geologic story of Kentucky, when Mississippian seas cleared, great thicknesses of limestone were deposited in the warm, shallow waters.
There's a number of people I could consider calling a great thickness. Take that how you will.
Essentially where a lot of this sedimentary rock and all of this limestone kind of started getting deposited and forming the rock formations that we now know is like this entire ground region of Kentucky and in Tennessee.
This is how fried chicken is made.
From the sediment of the ocean?
Have you ever made fried chicken? You take the wet chicken, the buttermilked chicken, you put it in the crumbs, and then you sediment more crumbs on top, and you toss it about. It's just geology, but with chicken. And then you, much like with rock, you take heat and pressure, or at least heat, and you put it in the pan, of the hot pan, and you fry it. It's geology. That's a stretch.
So I guess how it worked is that basically the surface streams of the time didn't really start sinking into the limestone to begin to dissolve it until about 10 to 15 million years ago.
Gotcha.
And so without that, there wasn't really a way for cave formation to happen. But I'm sure that there's like a way more in-depth explanation and history behind it. But like, I'm not going to go around explaining 330 million years of information because we would be here for like 3 hours.
Do it.
And I also don't know enough to do that. Like, if I had done more research and, like, I don't know, maybe this is what I was getting my degree in, sure. But it's not. This is not my field, so I'm not going to do that because I would probably get a lot of it wrong.
This isn't brain surgery. You're like, I can't do this.
So the highest passages formed about 2 million years ago when researchers speculate that the Ice Age activity altered...
I'm sorry to already interrupt, but when you say the highest passages, you mean the ones closest to the surface or like the biggest?
The biggest ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
The ones they've been wearing for a long time. Gotcha. Okay.
Well, maybe it means the ones closest to the surface. I don't exactly know. Because, like, I read literally 30 different sources. And no one explains what they mean by highest passages. They all just say highest passages.
Well, you did more research than I did. I just had an underlying knowledge and read a bunch of articles on the National Park website and the Smithsonian. So you're doing better than me. Every time I ask a question, you don't have to derail and go look it up. But I understand that knowledge... I appreciate it, but you don't have to do it.
The highest passages in the cave are the upper level sections of the cave.
Okay, so I'm assuming the ones closest to the surface.
Yeah.
Okay, that would make sense. Which also explains why they tend to be a bit bigger.
Yeah, it says basically these passages no longer contain an active stream, which has since carved out lower tunnels, creating multiple levels in the cave system.
Gotcha.
So I think it basically by like highest passages, the highest level within the cave system, because it goes down like so deep into multiple different levels.
Really? And here I was thinking it went up.
Some of them do.
What?
I don't know. That's just how it kind of works, because like some
Like
can
it
kind of
percolates
form
up through?
Yeah, kind of. In some parts.
That's wild. I thought you were going to do a joke and be like, how do you think stalactites form? Stalagmites form from it dripping down. Stalactites form from it dripping up.
Some caves apparently can form upwards. I don't know if that happens. I guess they're called solution caves, where
It slowly fills
Yeah.
and then erodes upward.
in rare instances, the water that makes a cave does not flow down through the limestone, but rather it rises upward and can sometimes like literally form a cave upward. And I remember reading that somewhere in the museum, but didn't look specifically into the process about that. But yeah, the water can occasionally go upward.
That's wild.
Yeah, and
That's
form
sick.
caves in the upward direction. So, fucking crazy.
Caves are sick.
Okay.
They're not for us. They're sick, though.
So, anyway, the highest passages formed about 2 million years ago when researchers speculate that Ice Age activity altered the amount of water flowing into the cave, and the remaining cave streams descended to lower levels of the cave. The St. Louis limestone is the oldest and first unit deposited that we can still see from the surface, and was deposited during the Mississippian Age about 330 million years ago. It is composed of fine to medium-grained limestone, dolomite, sandstone, siltstone, and greenish-gray shale. These sediments are typically found in marine environments. The fossilized remains of corals, bryozoans, brachiopods, shark teeth, and gastropods have been found in this area and support that this part of what is now Kentucky was an ancient sea. The upper levels of the cave system were fully formed by about 3.2 million years ago based on radiometric dating of quartz pebbles. Stalagmites and stalactites are some of the best known cave formations. They are icicle-shaped deposits that form when water dissolves overlying limestone, then redeposits calcium carbonate along the ceilings or floors of the cave. Flowstone refers...
If you ever want to tell them apart, I remember it by stalagmites have an M in it. No, I actually remember it because stalagmites stand up mighty, and then stalactites are the other ones.
Okay.
But my mom said stalactites hang down like little tights from the ceiling. It's like little leg tights.
That's actually a really funny way to remember it. Okay. Flowstone refers to sheets of calcium carbonate that form along cave walls. It hangs downward and may create a curtain-like drapery along ledges. The most notable flowstone formation in Mammoth Cave is called Frozen Niagara.
That is really sick.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
The lodge we stayed in had pictures of it.
Yes, uh-huh.
I'll try and remember to post it. And I think a lot of the pictures that I'm going to post some pictures from the photographer that took pictures of Mammoth Caves. And so a lot of those will probably be some of that. But yeah, no, that Frozen Niagara is just gorgeous. If you just look up any pictures of some of the stuff in Mammoth Caves, whether it's, was it Frances... I
already don't remember her name.
Frances Johnston or Ansel Adams or like anybody, they all have beautiful pictures of it.
I should remember these people's names better. I'm terrible with names, though.
Oh no, me too. I did all my research on it. I don't remember their names.
Okay, and then there's also cave popcorn, which refers to knobs of calcite that form when water seeps through pores in limestone, creating clusters that resemble popcorn. Gypsum is a mineral that forms in the dry areas of the cave. It is calcium sulfate mineral that is soluble in water. It is most commonly seen as a delicate white crystal. There are crusts of gypsum which line the walls, flowers where gypsum blossoms out to resemble a flower.
Yeah, that stuff is cool. It's like an eldritch horror coming out of the walls. Some of the pictures you'll see, it just looks like a weird fungus coming out of the ceiling.
It
or
does
something,
kind of
'cause
resemble that.
It's all like twisted about and stuff, and you're like, what fungus cave creature is it? And then it's just a stone.
Yeah, it's just a mineral deposit. And then there's also snowballs of gypsum, which are globular white balls that cover the ceiling of a few of the caves. And so if you...
Those are really pretty.
Yeah, if you go into, I think it's like the Snowball Cave is what they call it, or the Snowball Tour, that's why it got its name.
That's kind of how Crystal Caves got its name, is because of all the gypsum, the gypsum formations.
I'm going to mispronounce some of these mineral names and probably a whole bunch of shit in this episode, so here we go.
Know.
Mirabilite and epsomite are two other minerals that occur in dry sections of the cave. They can form in areas in the winter when the air is drier, but then they dissolve away when the more humid air comes around in the summertime. So it might be kind of rare to see those unless you're in a really dry section of the cave.
Really dry section, probably like by the end of the winter.
Yeah. Another feature of the caves is the bottomless pit, which has a depth of about 105 feet.
And we talked about the person that discovered that.
We
that
did.
was Stephen Bishop.
Mm-hmm. Directly above the pit is a dome-shaped circular well, is what it's considered, like wells in quotation marks, which is about 63 feet high. These pits and domes develop at many points throughout the cave and are formed along vertical joints, which basically have some larger water source lying above them. So a lot of these are formed when waterfalls are able to produce deep gouges in the walls.
And we also talked about a guy that discovered a lot of those as well. And now it's cool that I get to learn how they formed.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I was like, how do these things form? I'm like, no, I'm going to learn about this. Don't research it. I'm going to learn.
So that was just a little bit of the geology about Mammoth Caves. I'm mostly going to be talking about the ecology of it. Just because I think the cave creatures are really interesting.
I love a good cave critter.
So there are over 130 animal species that live in Mammoth Cave Park, many adapted to live specifically within the cave system. Biodiversity is incredibly important for any ecosystem, as a biodiverse ecosystem can bounce back from natural or human-caused disturbances more readily than those that lack biodiversity. This is why it is critical to maintain each species in the park, not allowing extinction, extermination, or removal of any of these vital organisms, as it could have a massive and uncontrollable impact on the area.
I don't know if you get into it, but I remember, I didn't do much research on it for my episode, but I remember when I first toured Mammoth Caves, they were talking about how with the saltpeter mines, it really did a lot of damage on the local ecosystem and like polluted the water in it and was killing a bunch of the like cave fishes and stuff. And that was just all the mining operations were a huge issue. And then the they had some issues with like biohazardous waste and stuff when they had the what's it called, the tuberculosis hospital briefly.
Oh god, I bet. Yeah, because they set up a tuberculosis hospital like in the caves because they thought the cave air was going to help.
They were like, oh yeah, the guides don't get tired. We'll put people with tuberculosis in here. Not realizing that the moist air was terrible for it.
Yeah, and also in an enclosed space. Like, that is just the worst idea. They're like, we're going to send people to the sea, we're going to send people to high altitudes up to the mountains, and we're going to send people into caves.
Yeah. And there were a couple places where they're like, we'll just put up like a shanty town in the desert.
Oh, that is true. Which was specifically horrible. Like, yeah, in like Arizona, I know there were quite a few, and they quite literally were just like basically like shacks and tents where people were like freaking dying of heat exhaustion.
Yeah, they're like, how do we cure this? I don't know. Let's just stick them in every environment and see what happens, like a body farm, but they're not dead yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So, aquatic habitats in the park include rivers, upland swamps, and the cave aquatic ecosystem. And then there are terrestrial habitats in the park, which include forest, grasslands, and the terrestrial cave ecosystem. There are 3 different types of animals that are basically like 3 categories of animals found inside the caves. There are the troglosines, which is troglos meaning cave and xenos meaning guest. So it basically means cave guest.
So these are like the ones that come in and out, like bats.
Yeah. Troglazines come and go from caves. They typically use cave habitats for like hibernation or nesting and birthing spots. So yeah, it's exactly what bats would be because they use...
Would a bear be considered that because they often use caves as dens?
I don't know, actually. And I don't think bears are often in the Mammoth Cave system from what I could find. Like, I didn't see any mention of bears in the Mammoth Cave system. So I'm actually not sure about bears.
I'm just curious in general. Bears keep coming up in our episodes.
Yeah, because they use it for hibernation. I would assume that they would be considered troglazines.
Yeah. I don't know.
So, yeah, they definitely would be, because they're not adapted to spending long amounts of time in the cave, nor will they spend their entire lives in the darkness. So, an example here for mammoth caves is bats and moths are troglazines. I would assume bears would be, too, if they go into a cave for hibernation, though. Because they're not adjusted for the cave.
I don't think they exclusively use caves for hibernation. It can be like a little dugout burrow or something.
I mean, but the same goes for bats. They can set up there wherever they live.
Yeah, in a tree.
Yeah.
Your attic.
Then there is troglophiles, which is basically troglos meaning cave again.
People who marry caves.
But then phileo, which refers to love. So these organisms prefer to live inside a cave, but may leave the cave to search for food, a cleaner habitat, or to mate. Crustaceans like crayfish are an example of a troglophile. They can live their entire lives inside or outside a cave system. And I believe this also includes the cave crickets.
I was going to ask about that.
They mainly live in the caves, but they do go up to the surface to feed
live
on
in
nutrients.
my parents' basement.
Yeah, and they can live outside of the caves. But they love a cave. Then there's troglobites, which is troglos for cave again, but then bios for life. Troglobites spend their entire life in the caves.
Troglobite or troglobio? Okay, because you said bio meaning life.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that it ends because you
can't... Yeah, it's technically still bios for life, but in like a different form. Just like troglophiles, it's philes, but it's filio referring to love. So it's still like... That's the derivation of it, but it's not that exact word because,
I just want to make sure
that... language.
I just want to make sure I heard... Because I've heard the word troglobite before, but I just want to make sure that you, didn't read it as troglobite or were saying that that was an error or something. I just want clarification on that.
No, that term is where I got the etymology and everything is direct copy paste from the National Park website.
Interesting.
So
I never knew that.
Yeah. So troglobites spend their entire life in caves. They only live in underground habitats adapted.
So it's the eyeless fish.
Mm-hmm. They are adapted to survive in total darkness. Troglobites have depigmentation, a decrease or total loss of eyesight, a slow metabolism, and are able to efficiently digest and consume food. Troglobites cannot survive on the surface, and they actually can't even travel between cave systems. They are confined to wherever they're at. Typically, they are endemic to a single cave or a single cave system. So a lot of these specific species of cave critters are specific to mammoth caves or even to a very specific cave within the cave system.
So it would be this one is specifically within crystal caves or this is exclusively in the bottomless pit.
Yeah.
But nowhere else versus you can find similar creatures in mammoth caves and Carlsbad, but they're not the same. It's how you can find an eagle in you can find an eagle in North Carolina and California, but it may not be the same type of eagle.
Yeah, because you got to think that's really hard for them to travel between cave systems, and these are mainly fish and shrimp that are
so it's probably they got trapped in the caves years and years ago and evolved.
Yeah, exactly, and it would be really crazy to have. There's just no way that exact same one is going to evolve because they all evolve in separate ways and they all started out as different fish and based on each specific cave's
temperature and biodiversity and all that stuff. Yeah.
So as rainwater moves through the soil, it actually washes a bunch of dissolved organic matter into the cave streams. And this is where microscopic organisms can feed on that organic matter. There are several kinds of little invertebrates, such as isopods, snails, and cave shrimp, that eat these microbes that grow on the rocks within the cave streams. The smaller organisms are often prey for cave crayfish or fish, with cave fish being the top predator in the cave aquatic system. And fun fact, most crayfish live only 1 to 5 years on average, but an eyeless crayfish in Mammoth Caves can live to be over 20 years old.
Wow.
Right? Like, their lifespan is so, like, 20, like, anywhere from, like, 4 to 20 times longer than a normal crayfish.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I guess it's just because maybe their conservation of energy?
Yeah, conservation of energy probably, and also that they're one of the bigger animals.
Right, less preyed upon.
Like, you know, I'm assuming the cave fish are also around the same size, give or take.
Yeah,
maybe a bit bigger. Like a regular creek crawdad, you know, it's so small compared to everything around it.
Yeah.
You know, you just look around a forest and you can see 20 things that are in 30 seconds that are bigger than a crayfish.
Right, but that's part of the reason why these ecosystems are so fragile is because if one of these species goes away, that's like a massive hit to the ecosystem. Because, like, yeah, out on the surface you have, like, you know, a million different types of freaking birds, but, you know, down in the caves there's not a whole lot going on.
3 fish.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're all named Phil.
In the lowest parts of cave streams, there are occasions when water from the river back floods into the cave, and fish living in surface streams can find themselves suddenly underground. Surface fish
Brief tangent. This isn't Mammoth Caves, but do you know about the Lost Sea in Tennessee?
I have heard of that, yes.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's basically this big underground lake in Tennessee that's like in a cave, and there's like no animals or anything that they know of. And they can't figure out how it keeps getting, there's more and more fish, or more and more water in it. And so they released a whole bunch of, like, trout or something in it. I don't remember what kind of fish. And to see where they went, and they just never went anywhere. Now there's just a whole bunch of trout in this lake and, like, nothing else.
Yeah, because they can't figure out where it connects to. Like, where's the water source? Like, where is it coming from? They still haven't found out, I don't think.
Yeah. I feel like they kind of figured out that it percolates through the roof of the cave or something. But yeah, so there's just like a whole bunch of trout there that they put in the 70s, and they're like, I don't know what to do with it, and now they just have to feed the fish or else they'll all die.
So it'd have to, because there's no like stream or like larger water system flowing into it, so it's all coming from rainfall.
That's what they're thinking, and that it's not really flowing out much.
Interesting.
I'd have to dig deeper into it, but I think I heard something about that briefly, but
that's cool,
that just made me think of when you were like, other outside fish getting into it.
So these surface fish that don't end up getting washed back up.
Surface fish.
These surface fish that end up not getting washed back up end up dying, and they decay where they are eaten by the crawfish. But this may be how fish came into the cave to begin with, along with many other cave organisms. So, according to an article by science.org, cave fish may evolve
is a hell of a website.
I know.
Science.org.
I think it's the website for Science Magazine.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Not just, this is the website for science.
Yeah, so according to an article by science.org, cave fish may evolve in just a few thousand years, with a group of fish getting trapped underneath the ground in a cave, and over generations start to become smaller, paler, with bigger nostrils and smaller eyes. Each cave fish and cave system has a different origin story that we may not know the full details of, but all I can say is that if you don't adapt quickly, you definitely won't survive.
So what I'm hearing is if you stay inside long enough, you'll start devolving into a cave fish. So go outside and touch grass, or you will become the next cave fish.
You have to go through a lot of generations for that, though.
No, that's how I understood evolution. If you just get used to it, you'll adapt.
No. You have to pass certain traits onto your offspring. That's not how that works.
if you don't leave the house, you ain't gonna do none of that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making it very hard for me to be a science denier.
The cavefish within Mammoth Caves are particularly interesting as they are completely eyeless. They feed only on cave invertebrates, sometimes each other, and can live up to 2 years without food by conserving their energy.
That's interesting. I know there's a lot of animals that can do that, like, some snakes can go, like, months without eating, and, like, I think it's saltwater crocodiles can do that, and some big cats.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's always fascinating to me.
It's just due to their insanely slow metabolism. So this backflooding in the lower level caves can also be beneficial for
Quakers?
Cave-dwelling bats.
Quakers live in the caves. You heard it here first, kids.
Cave-dwelling bats, that's what I was trying to say.
Cave-dwelling bats?
Cave-dwelling bats.
Sometimes it happens to the best of us.
So the bats gather insects from the river passages, and it provides them with a food source and water to drink. Some of the cave creatures, such as bats, cave crickets, and wood rats, actually go out at night to feed in the forest and grasslands, and they drink from the rivers. What the fuck? There's always a W word after these R's because it's rivers and wetlands, and so I want to put the fucking W there.
I don't know what it is. I think it's because neither of us have gotten good sleep this month. But
we're so tired.
You've been around me too much, and my speech impediments have been coming out when I'm tired, and you're picking it up. The other day I was talking to someone, and just full on without stuttering or stumbling, I was like, I could put a whaling white here on your deck.
A whaling white here.
You've just been around me and my speech impediment ass for too long.
Because we've been talking specifically about like how you used to pronounce your R's as W's, and now I'm starting to do it.
Yeah, and it doesn't help when it like you haven't slept, and it's like, okay, here's all of the speech impediments in my face, and you've been in the car with me for 17 hours.
Put like R words next to W words consistently. So anyway, drink from rivers and wetlands.
Yeah, now you understand why I put emphasis on words randomly.
Yeah.
Now the audience also knows, because I'll be saying a word and I'll start speech impedimenting it up. And I'm just,
that was a hard word that you tried to say.
Speech impedimenting it up.
There we go.
There you go. And I'll just force the word out. Just do it.
Yeah.
Fuck it, we ball.
Eventually, there's guano and droppings that are left within the cave, and this is a food base for a large number of these cave-adapted creatures. And fun fact about the wood rats is wood rats are able to use secretion from scent glands to mark their path and navigate in and out of the caves in total darkness.
That is really cool. Because, like,
right?
Everyone knows about, like, bats use echolocation or whatever, but you never talk about any other and that is so cool. Like, why didn't I learn about that in school?
Right? Come on now.
I know, like, some dogs will, like, use scent glands to mark where they've been and stuff, and also, like, mark their territory, but that's just cool that they do it in total darkness.
Yeah,
navigate in total darkness.
The only way they can really navigate. And they have like these big long whiskers that also help them, but it's mainly like the creation of the path for themselves using their scent gland.
That is so cool. Hansel and Gretel would be so different if that was the case.
It's just wood rats. That's funny. So cave crickets also lay their eggs in dry cave passages. And then there are a species of blind cave beetles that feast on the cricket eggs and use them as a food source, which adds another link to the cave system food web. Cave crickets are deemed one of the most important organisms for the cave ecosystems since they go up to the surface, they feed, and they bring nutrients back into an energy-poor environment, which supports invertebrate communities such as beetles, springtails, pseudoscorpions, and bristletails.
What's a springtail and a bristletail? Just a type of fish?
Springtails are, I believe both of those. I know springtails specifically are like a type of insect that eat like bacteria. Like when you build a bioactive chameleon terrarium, like the one that we have for our chameleon, you put springtails in there because they will eat any dead plant matter and any like dead crickets that are in the terrarium.
Oh, Okay, it's just little guys.
Okay, so cave salamanders and orb weaver spiders also go in and out of the cave environment. Along with cave crickets, they are able to detect airflow and subtle temperature changes to help them find their way up to the surface, basically coming from a completely dark cave. So that's the only way they know where they're going.
Yeah, it's so cool that there's all these different ways that they can get in and out, and all we ever learn about in school is like echolocation, unless you take like AP Bio, or Bio in college.
Like, because you could kind of, as a human, maybe sense the temperature changes, but not to the extent that they're able to sense them, and then also being able to detect, like, the specific airflow so they can see where the opening of a cave might be is really cool. Because you gotta think they're way fucking down there. For them to find their ways to the surface in complete darkness is just incredibly impressive. There are actually a lot of larger animals that come and go from the caves as well. Raccoons have been known to enter bat roosts and prey upon hibernating bats. There are vultures and other bird species that have been spotted using the rock ledges just within cave entrances to nest. But many of these...
We saw a little nest, right? There's like a little ledge. When you go down the entrance...
The main entrance?
Yeah. There's the waterfall, and just past the waterfall is a little ledge, and there was a nest on that.
I didn't notice that.
I don't think you can see in any of the pictures that we took, though.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, some bird species, they just, like, right in the entrance of caves, that's where they nest at. But many of these species only exist in places like Mammoth Caves, or only in Mammoth Caves, and are therefore very rare and often endangered.
You just said the same thing. Only in Mammoth Caves, or only in Mammoth Caves?
In places like Mammoth Caves.
Okay.
Or only in Mammoth Caves.
Gotcha. Okay, I missed the places like part. My bad.
So, like, either in, like, other cave systems, but, you know, as we know, like, a lot of these, like,
most
the ones
of Kentucky is connected.
Yeah, like, the troglobites, like, those are only in Mammoth Caves because it's not like they're going anywhere else to reproduce. So it is of utmost importance for us to be responsible when exploring these caves, to not damage the ecosystem present there. What you might deem as no big deal can destroy an entire part of an ecosystem and kill many different species of organisms. This is why when you are visiting Mammoth Caves, it is important to follow the rules and regulations of the park. Do not step off the trails. Do not ride on cave walls. Try not to even touch anything in the cave if you can, because of course humans have their own entire, like, skin bacteria and skin cells and oils and all of that shit.
We also saw... Because the thing was closed, they didn't have this, but they had a foot washing station.
Yeah.
The last time I toured, you had to go through and, like, walk in a little, like, puddle of sanitizer, and then they, like, would spray the bottoms of your shoes so that you wouldn't get white nose syndrome.
I'm going to go into a whole thing about that.
Okay.
There's,
I know
like,
you
an
took a picture
entire
of the
page
thing.
on it.
Okay, cool. I figured as much, but I was just like, I have something I can contribute to the conversation yet again.
So, let's see. And absolutely do not collect rocks or anything else from the cave and bring it outside of the cave. And do not bring in outside food or drink. There is a case where there was a dropped bag of Cheetos in Carlsbad Caverns National Park, New Mexico. And
we've talked about that one before, too.
Yeah, and according to park officials, this cavern is almost entirely cut off from the outside world, so introducing anything alien can be catastrophic. The cave has 90 to 100% humidity, so things will get soggy pretty quickly, and that is according to one of the guides, Ashley Parsons. So basically, it gets mushy and attracts microbes, and this encourages mold growth, and soon the crickets, spiders, bats, they swoop in to feed, and it spreads contamination. And the packaging is even worse. So if you drop something like a plastic bag or anything metal or any trash into, let's say, like a water source, what happens is it's going to stay there. Like, the decay times might be centuries to even millennia, which is, I mean, incredibly toxic. Leaving waste introduces animals to an unnatural diet and can actually change their behavior with really negative consequences.
And also some of these things could, like, there could be toxins in said food.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, like, kill things off. But when birds or fish mistake plastic for food, it basically fills up their stomachs so they can't eat and they basically starve to death, which is really not fucking cool. So do not introduce...
Don't litter in general.
Yeah, anything. Like, do not drop anything into the cave system. Like, don't do that.
Don't be the person, like, when I was touring Linville Caverns, that dropped their entire camera into the bottomless pit in Linville Caverns.
Fuck.
They were leaning over to take a picture and they dropped it because they didn't have the band on. And I think now they like won't let you even look over because so many people have dropped stuff. And they're like, if you drop it, when I went, they were like, if you drop stuff, we do not go and get it.
Right.
So you just don't drop it. And I think now they had to put something up because it was becoming such a problem for the ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not just, oh, shoot, I lost this thing. It's like you are having a devastating effect just from dropping that one thing. Like, just don't do it. If there's a chance that you are going to drop something or leave something, just don't do it. Like, I mean, literally take off, like, all but your fucking skivvies. We're going into this cave, god damn it.
Naked cave exploration.
No, that's actually, that would be a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But they also say, like, you have to
Zippered
be...
pockets, y'all. Zippered pockets.
Yes, really. You also have to be careful introducing additional light into the cave system because, like, a lot of these organisms are extremely light sensitive because they live in complete darkness all of the time. And, of course, if you go around touching stuff, especially if you're wearing sunscreen, lotion, or anything else on your skin, perfumes, like, that can have a negative effect if you're, like, going around touching stuff. General rule of thumb is just leave things as they are, leave no trace. Every year, hundreds of thousands of visitors come to Mammoth Cave National Park to take an adventure through the cave system. Little do these visitors know that as they embark on their journey, they are often leaving lint from clothes, hair, and tiny bits of trash from pockets. And you might think that lint isn't a big deal, but it can actually negatively impact the delicate cave ecosystem. It is adding food to an otherwise food-poor environment. It can lead to microbial growth, dissolution of formations, and discolored cave features like the rocks, walls, and flowstones. It impacts the cultural resources that are hundreds of thousands of years old because it can collect on artifacts and cause damage, and it can also obscure historic signatures that are often found along tour routes.
Something to go with that is one thing when I was doing my research, I didn't really talk about this, but how a lot of the early explorers would find their way in and out of the caves is they would put soot on the roofs. And a lot of the and that's how they find their way in and out, and that's a big historical thing. And like that's how we know that they did that, because some people didn't even keep journals of that. But with the early tours, with like the ones that Stephen Bishop was doing and Ed Hawkins and a lot of those people, the people that would come and visit would like leave, they would take a little torch and they'd soot their initials into the low ceilings. And you can see that, and well, that's not good for the ecosystem. They didn't know that at the time, but that is so easily like wiped away if you like touch it,
right,
or whatever, you know. And that could be like someone could have written something, because it'll be names and then the dates, and that's part of how we know how early people were in there,
right? And
like when different cave tours started becoming a thing, and when like you can, because people would do like J&H 1847, and that's how you would know like, oh, this is when there's a like you'll see more dates in this period and then less dates and more dates and less dates, and then that's a bit of a historical record of how many people were coming, because people weren't always keeping records with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like a huge part of the history of the cave, and we don't want any of that to get wiped away.
Yeah.
And of course, like, you can't control lint that comes off of your clothes. If you go on a cave tour and you are wearing clothing, lint comes off. So the park has taken steps to keep a majority of lint off of the cave walls, along the touring trails inside the cave. The park installed the short boards that line the trails to collect lint before it can settle in the rocks or on the walls. They are referred to as lint rails. And then they also have annual restoration camps where they have volunteers known as lint bunnies that work to mitigate cave lint through extensive cleaning efforts.
Job title.
Right? So the group has been in existence for a little over a decade now, and at first they were using just like brooms and dustpans to gather lint along the trails and basically in the large upper passageways. And they would get together like once a year during the week-long restoration camp. But as techniques and equipment have been refined, the collection of lint has expanded. So now camp participants can sign up for daily tasks which involve the lint cleaning. With the improvement of paved trails throughout the cave, the camp has been able to increase the cleanup efforts to 5 days at a time. But just to minimize the impact of daily tour schedules, each Lint Bunny crew is held to a maximum of 6 members using either brooms or HEPA vacuums. HEPA. I don't know if I'm supposed to like...
HEPA. I'm assuming it's like HEPA filter.
That's what I'm thinking. So over the years, crews have collected approximately 600 pounds of lint and other items that are left behind on tours. And you can actually go and become one of these dust bunnies or lint bunnies at Mammoth Caves National Park if you go to the volunteer website. And that's just one of the many ways that you can go and help out the ecosystem. There are a whole bunch of other different programs that are going to help out, but that's a nice one where you can kind of almost tour the cave yourself, but you're also helping out the cave environment. It is not only vitally important to make sure you are clean when you enter the caves, but it's also incredibly important for you to clean off all of your clothes and gear when leaving the caves before interacting with the outside environment. This is important because the spread of any microbes or disease from one ecosystem doesn't need to transfer to another ecosystem. For example, if you go explore some caves and you pick up anything bat related, including bat droppings on your clothes, shoes, or any other gear, and then interact with bats of another cave system or interact with bats outside of the cave system, you may transport what is called white nose syndrome, which is a white fungus that grows on a bat's nose, ears, and wings that causes disorientation and erratic behavior. It likely originated in Europe or Asia, and then sometime in the early 2000s arrived in North America and attacked vulnerable bat species, resulting in unusual and large die-offs of bats first observed in New York in 2006.
With the white nose syndrome, so my parents, when they were doing most of their caving, that was in the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't, they knew about white nose syndrome, but it wasn't really a thing, and they didn't have to sterilize any of their gear.
Yeah.
And around the time when they stopped doing like wild cave tours and caving, it started becoming more of a thing of like, at first it was like, well, just wipe off your gear, just make sure you get an extra wash. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it is now, but it was just like wipe off your helmet, wash your clothes twice type thing.
And I'm sure it's still the same. As like, as long as you were doing something to like everything that you brought into that cave, when you come out of that cave, you're doing everything to disinfect everything that you used, like to where it's going to kill that fungus before you go and adventure anywhere else. That should be fine. But I would ask like your park rangers that are there for specifics about like what is the best way to make sure that you don't spread this if you were exploring different caves. Since 2006, the disease has spread to most U.S. states and Canadian provinces, which leaves millions of dead bats in its path. So white nose syndrome causes high death rates and incredibly fast population decline. 3 species of brown bats declined more than 90% across the eastern U.S. just by 2018. So that's like literally only 12 years, and we've had 3 different species of bats decline almost like completely. And a whole bunch of bat species have basically been listed as endangered and been like proposed for listing under the Endangered Species Act just because of this one cold-loving fungus. And it basically infects them during hibernation when the bats reduce their metabolic rate and lower their body temperature to save energy over winter. The hibernating bats affected by it wake up to warmer temperatures more frequently, which results in using up fat reserves, and so the bats often starve to death before spring arrives. So this fungus can even spread through vehicle travel and has devastated entire species, which is why it's critical to be aware of how it spreads and how we may contribute to that as we visit areas with high bat populations. So please do your best to disinfect everything before traveling from one area to another. You may just spell hope or death for an entire population. There are 13 different species of bats that live in Mammoth Caves. There are still thousands of bats that inhabit Mammoth Caves, but their roosts have had to be sectioned off from visitors as the saltpeter production and other cave exploration efforts have disrupted the population in the past. Bats still come and go in different parts of the caves, and it's still incredibly important to be vigilant as this is their home and we wouldn't want to disrupt their populations even further. Not only is it important to maintain the ecosystem in the cave, it is also critical that the ecosystem of the forest and Green River is maintained. The Green River and other springs in the area contain catfish, bass, bluegill, mussels, and many other aquatic species that are constantly being threatened by water pollution, loss of habitat, overharvesting, and change in water flow due to dams. And there are, of course, like many different cleanup efforts. They monitor like different water levels and different acidity of the water, and if there's chemicals in the water, and they're like doing research on like the soil and everything in it. So they're really trying their best to mitigate this, but just make sure that you do your research before visiting somewhere and making sure that you're like, you know, taking all the precautions and you're not going to hurt the ecosystem in any way. So now I am going to talk about some recent discoveries that I find absolutely fascinating within the cave system of Mammoth Caves.
I can't wait for this. You teased it for me.
I'm so excited.
There was some at the caves, in the museum that we learned about, but you told me, you're like, there's some new discoveries I'm going to talk about. I'm like, tell me now. And you're like, wait 15 minutes.
We're going to record, yeah.
I'm like, no, tell me now.
They finally began some paleontological research in 2019 in the park. So before then, there were no shark fossils that were known to be in... There might have been like other fossils in the park, but specifically in the...
In the cave system.
In the...
Or the...
How is STE pronounced?
STE. Stay? STE. Is it an abbreviation for something?
It's STE period Genevieve formation. Do you know how to pronounce that?
Established? That's short for established, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Oh, STE.
Yeah.
EST. I'm dyslexic. I'm sorry.
It is St. Genevieve. I was going to say that, but I was like, that's not the abbreviation for saint, right?
Yeah.
I guess it is, though.
I thought ST is...
I thought so, too. I guess I was going to say
was
that
it a
it's St.
typo?
Genevieve formation.
Was it a typo on the website?
They do it 12 fucking times, so I don't think so.
Okay, then I don't know.
Okay. So there might have been shark fossils in other parts, but the St. Genevieve formation is specifically like where they find a lot of these fossils, and they didn't find those until 2019. None of these shark fossils. So to date, over 70 species of sharks and other fish have been identified from the St. Genevieve formation, including several new species. The first shark species discovered inside the St. Genevieve formation was, I'm going to fuck up these names so bad, get ready.
Again, I won't know.
Strigoledus telesanae, which refers to Teleson's scraper tooth, which the Park Service announced in October of 2023. Research believe the species may have lived like the modern skate. They named it after...
Because I'm picturing like a roller skate, and I know that's not it.
No, it's a type of fish.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's kind of like a ray, but it's not. Is the only way I know how to describe it. So they named it after a park guide who provided field support for the paleontological research at Mammoth Caves. They also identified Clavosodens McGinnisii, or the McGinnis's nail tooth, through fossil teeth collected from deep inside the St. Genevieve Formation, One of the 4 major rock formations within Mammoth Cave National Parks is, like, the St. Genevieve Formation. So this is where they're finding all this stuff. It's, like, I want to say it's like one of 4 of the major ones. So it's, like, a fucking big one.
Yeah,
I
if you
haven't
look it up,
personally
it's, like-
seen it, so.
It's really big. I was trying to remember what it looked like because I feel like I saw it. If you look it up, it's like you get to it on like any of the tours and it's like a giant like open space.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, when I say, like, St. Genevieve Formation, I don't want you to think it's just, like, a little wall of rock is where they're finding all of this. Like, it is 1 out of 4 of the largest, like, rock formations within Mammoth Caves. And you have to think about how many miles Mammoth Caves is.
Yeah,
So that's giving you, like, the scale of things.
If you look it up, there's like pictures of people in it, and it is probably like minimum 2 to 3 stories tall.
Yeah.
In some of these pictures, it is giant. Like, you can barely make out. Like, there's a little guy right in there. There's just a little fella doing science.
So this specific little shark species that they found, they think measured only 3 to 4 inches long. So this small size probably allowed it to avoid large predators as it foraged on little crustaceans, worms, and small brachiopods along the sea floor. The name nail tooth derives from the shark's back teeth, which they say resemble old iron nails because of their flat crowns and long bases. And then there is the third species that they found was the Troglocladidus tremblay. Yeah, I think that's it. Troglocladidus tremblay.
That is a big point word in Scrabble. That's all I know.
This is a new genus and species of shark that was identified through adult and juvenile teeth found within both the St. Louis and the St. Genevieve formations.
Again with the St. Louis formation.
See, and here's where it fucking confuses me, because St. Louis is St. Louis, but then St. Genevieve is STE?
It's so when I was looking up the St. Genevieve formation, it looks like there's also a church called St. Genevieve, and it's spelled that same way, and it's probably named after it because it's like, because there's like places that are called like the cathedral and whatever, and so they probably named it after it because like the shape of it reminded them of the St. Genevieve Cathedral or what have you.
The different spellings, like the different abbreviated spellings of Saint is really throwing me for a loop, though. Because I was going to say Saint, and then I was like, Saint is just ST. What the fuck is happening here?
Saint-y.
Okay.
Saint-y.
The St. Genevieve formation.
All of a sudden, we're Italian.
Okay. And these have actually...
I was like, what smells like it's burning? We turned the oven on.
This actually was also found in the Banger Formation in Alabama.
That's a banger formation.
I hope that's how it's pronounced. Wouldn't that be funny? Banger Formation.
Banger, hardly know her.
Okay.
The oven can't stand my bad jokes.
It was literally like a line. It was like,
The oven and the train can't stand my bad jokes today. Chicago just isn't here for my jokes. I'm gonna take my jokes back to North Carolina.
All right, so the genus name basically means cave branching tooth. And then it was also named in honor of Park Superintendent Barclay Trimble, who found the very first specimen, a single tooth, on an early paleontological trip in 2019.
I just want to say what a wonderful name that man has. Barclay Tremble.
Barclay Trimble, yeah. Barclay?
Maybe Barclay.
Barclay Trimble?
Because I've heard Barclay.
I've never heard that name before.
I knew a couple of people with the last name of Barclay, but I've never heard it as a first name.
Yeah, it's a very interesting name. Love that for him. They estimate that this shark probably reached about 10 to 12 feet in length and was about the size... There was the oven.
I didn't think it would preheat by the time
My oven takes like 30 minutes to preheat, so this was just really fast.
That's why I was like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll do this, and then it'll beep later. My bad.
So they think it reached about 10 to 12 feet in length and was about the size of like a white tip shark nowadays.
A white ship tarp? What?
A white tip shark. I wrong?
You said, I don't know, but I thought I heard white shit tarp. And I don't know if it's like my auditory issues, because you probably said it right. Because you know how at work I just like can't hear anything. I heard you say like, I heard you say it was like 870 once, and I was like, what? You were like calling out a time 870. I'm like, what? So I just can't hear anything. But also, neither of us can say things right, so it's anyone's guess. We'll figure out when we re-listen to it.
And then around the same time in 2014, they discovered another species of shark. Wait,
didn't you say that none of these shark species had been discovered until 2019? Or are you saying they hadn't been discovered?
There was no paleontological research in this part of Mammoth Caves until 2019.
Okay, so
which is when they started discovering these things.
Okay, but because you just said 2014.
I meant 2024. Sorry, that was my fuck up.
Okay,
I'm glad you said something.
You might have said that
2024.
You might have said that with something else, but I caught that and I was like, so they found that and this is what made them.
It's just because I don't have it written down here.
Gotcha.
And I remembered to end it in a 4 and I fucked it up. No, 2024. This is recent. So they found a second shark species in 2024, and this second shark was Glickmanius cariforum.
Excuse me?
Glickmanius cariforum.
That is a supervillain name if I've ever heard it. Glickmanius is my arch nemesis.
Maybe the G is silent. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce these things.
I don't know.
I'm just reading them how they're spelled. So
You
blame the English language.
Half the time when you will say things and it will sound more correct than how it's actually said.
Yeah.
Didn't you look it up earlier and it was like, this is how you say it? And it's like, it's spelled like CT something or other. And then
yeah,
you're like, how do you say it? And it's like, it's something not. It doesn't look at all.
No, it was completely wrong.
And the person that was
said it started with a T.
It was like
It was like a French person.
Yeah, a French person trying to do the like in a world voice. He was like, "This is how you pronounce this word." Why is he German? I can't do a French accent. This is why I can't do accents on command. It was like, "This is how you pronounce this word." That's also not. We're gonna cut this. I can't do any accent.
I don't know what that
I had it in the beginning, but you get the point.
Okay.
I'm going to stop talking and let you finish this because you probably have 3 sentences to go.
So Glickmanius was like already, I believe, a genus of species of shark, but was like already like a genus of shark, but this is a new species of Glickmanius that basically like pushes the origins of this shark back 50 million years than they thought that it originated. So this was a huge find. It was identified primarily from teeth found in both the St. Louis and St. Genevieve formations, but then also in the Haney formations, in Mammoth Caves, and then there's also the Hartzell and Banger formations in Alabama, again. So I guess in Alabama, when Alabama was also an ocean, I guess there were a lot of the same species.
There's a bunch of cave systems in like where Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia meet. And a lot of cavers call that like the tag area. When my parents did caving, they did that in like some of Kentucky and Indiana, but it's mostly in that area. Like it's just all over. There are caves there.
Yeah, they were definitely like basically the same area in the ocean because they had a lot of the same species at the time. They actually found a partial set of jaws and gills from a young one of these at Mammoth Caves, and this was basically the first set of cartilage fossil for this genus of shark.
Yeah, it's cool because you always think of bone fossilizing and not like cartilage, bone or keratin.
Yeah,
not cartilage. That's cool.
So they estimate that this one would have reached about 10 to 12 feet in length, which is like kind of the same size as the other one. And the jaw shape suggests that it had a short head with a powerful bite for hunting smaller sharks, bony fish.
Boner fish? Is this the fish in Peru that like Swims up your urethra.
You know that is not an actual thing, though? Like, I don't think there are any actual cases of
So
that.
it happened like one time, and then it just became a huge thing.
Because everyone's afraid of that happening to them, which I would be too. Like,
Yeah.
No thank you, penis fish.
Boner fish. No thank you, boner fish.
Okay.
We are ready to be done with this.
Okay.
Oh, jeez. Is this the fish? You said it had a short jaw. Is this the one you showed me that looked like a punched Muppet?
Yes, it is. And then in 2025, like literally July of 2025 is when they started releasing all this information. A new species of ancient shark called the Macadens ulsani has been discovered at Mammoth Cave National Park, which it's notable for its very unique tooth whorl, which is a curved front row of teeth.
Whirl? Is that what you...
Whorl, yeah, like
Whirl, like a...
W-H-O-R-L. Not like whirl, whorl.
Whirl?
Yeah, W-H-O-R-L. Tooth whorl.
Interesting. I thought you were just saying whirl weird.
No, it's a tooth whorl.
Whirl.
Whorl.
Okay, what is that? Tell me. Do tell me.
Okay, so it's a curved row of teeth designed for crushing small sea creatures. So, yeah, it's just like curved, like a curvy.
So it is a whirl, but they just called it a whorl.
Yeah, it's like, let me look up the definition of whorl, because I'm curious. Yeah, it's basically the same thing as a whorl.
Jago spin.
A pattern of spirals. So, it's a spirally little tooth thing that crushes the creature.
Jago spin.
This ancient shark likely grew less than a foot in length, and it probably feasted on, like, mollusks and worms, and the mollusk is probably why it had to crush shit. And this was also found in the St. Genevieve Formation. But the crazy thing is that a lot of these sharks date back to, like, 325 to, like, 340 million years ago. And for reference, the megalodon existed 23 to 3.6 million years ago. So these
That's
sharks
a lot of numbers.
These sharks are like over 300 million years older than the megalodon. And we're finding fucking like shark teeth and fossils for them.
That is so cool.
It's insane. I'm very excited about that. So this entire area was once like an ancient seaway that connected what is now Eastern North America, Europe, and Northern Africa, but would later disappear as the supercontinent of Pangaea formed. So there might be other caves in like Europe and like Northern Africa and shit that got some cool ass shark
Sort
teeth.
of under the ocean. That would be sick.
Yeah. So that is all I have on the geology and ecology of Mammoth Caves. I probably, obviously I'm not an expert in this stuff, so if I got anything wrong and you know that I got some shit wrong, feel free to email us, but yeah. I did get all of my information from the actual, like, national park sites and from the museums and, like, from reputable sources, so...
And I think we were saying in the last episode, protect your parks. This is why this shit's important.
Yeah, exactly.
Protect the fucking parks.
Yeah, this is why it's
for science.
Important. For science. And because you don't want to kill the little critters. That's fucked up.
They're so cute. They're freaky guys, and they're adorable.
Okay, and I'll have Elena do the intro since I did
the intro?
Hi,
I'm Elena, and this is our podcast, What About Weird?
Since I did the intro, I'll have Elena do the outro.
Yes, it is outro time. Thank you for listening. If you liked it, please rate the podcast and share it with the weird people in your life. Follow us on Instagram at whataboutweird.pod, where we often share pictures related to the episode. We're also on Blue Sky as What About Weird Pod. If you have any topic suggestions or personal weird stories, please DM us or email us at whataboutweirdpod@gmail.com. And always remember
to ask about the weird.
Bye for now.